Well, the big news, of course, Jessiah, is the fact that Donald Trump has been removed, at least for the time being. The Colorado Supreme Court ruled that he be removed from the ballot in that state for engaging in insurrection. Of course, the 14th Amendment says you can't do that, Section 3. And even though it seems so clear, so obvious that that's what he did provide aid or comfort to, which is the language in the 14th Amendment to insurrectionists. We have all these responses from right-wingers, so dishonest, trying to assert otherwise and say this is anti-democratic, even though it's upholding the Constitution, just like age restrictions or whatever it might be. So with that being said, I want to dive into some clips from an interview Lauren Boebert did on Newsmax. Brace yourself, starting with this one.
Let's bring in Colorado Congresswoman Lauren Boebert to weigh in. Notice the Colorado Congresswoman part of that intro. Congresswoman, tell us what you think happened at the Supreme Court. Your district court or lower court ruled against this idea. Supreme Court overturned it. Tell us, what's your message to your own Supreme Court?
Well, I'm very, very much ashamed of our liberal Supreme Court here in Colorado. The decision to remove President Trump from the primary ballot in Colorado is a complete slap in the face to our constitutional republic. The party who says that they are there to protect democracy are undermining voters and voters' confidence in our elections. This is election interference to its fullest and nothing but an act of fear from the left. They are terrified to have President Trump on the ballot because they know that he is going to win. I am deeply ashamed of the Colorado liberal Supreme Court for putting politics ahead of the Constitution. Their entire case is built off of lies and personal vendettas. The people celebrating this move have no idea just how dangerous this is for our republic.
So there it is. I will show another clip in just a second, but we'll jump in here to respond to that. Jessiah, I'm just tired. I'm tired of all of it. I'm tired of us all seeing with our own eyes and hearing with our own ears what Trump did, what the purpose was behind him trying to stay in power. And he did all these different schemes, the fake elector scheme, the plan with Mike Pence, the pressuring of local officials. And when all that didn't work, he incited the mob to attack the Capitol to stop the certification of the election. All that happened. And for like 2 seconds, it seems like most people are going to say that was horrible. That was an attempt to overthrow our lawful process. And now, almost unanimously, the Republican Party goes, huh? No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, and the projection, is extraordinary and typical of the modern day Republican Party. Lauren Boebert constantly projects, like she talks about, the steps that the Democratic Party is taking to stop Donald Trump because we fear that Donald Trump will win. You could easily make the argument that that's what Donald Trump did in 2020 to keep Joe Biden from winning the election, begging then Attorney General Bill Barr to indict to indict Joe Biden on Maria Bartiromo's Fox show. He did that publicly, to say nothing of, as you said, the post-election legal challenges, the fake elector scheme, the all the stuff with Mike Pence. But the other interesting thing is this idea that Democrats are the one doing this. It was Republican voters who brought the lawsuit to Colorado. It's Republicans who want to get rid of Donald Trump, and not necessarily because of any policy disagreement, but because they don't think he's qualified because he is an insurrectionist who broke his oath of office. Sounds perfectly legitimate.
Lots more to say, but first, here's more from the interview.
The obvious question is, what happens when Trump gets the nomination? Are you going to play the same game for the general election in the state?
We have seen time and time again that the left, that these extreme liberals stop at nothing. I'm sure that they will try to play as many games as possible to have their way because a free and fair election doesn't get them the results that they want. So they will do anything that they can to try to interfere with the upcoming election. And that is exactly what is happening in Colorado right now.
I do want to note as well, there's a lot of rhetoric of, like you said, this is a liberal thing when it's not. This should be something that after Trump tried to block peaceful transfer power, all that was involved, including January 6th specifically, which was one part of a broader effort, but at issue specifically here, it should have been the whole country goes, whoa. People who didn't support him, obviously that's bad. People who did support him go, clearly I have to back away from that now because we can't have somebody who hates our democratic process that much and values themselves so much more than our democratic process. But that's a big misnomer with this whole thing. Also, it's not a debate about whether or not people should have a say on the candidate they want, or this is a matter of the Democratic. This is just the only debate you can have is, does the Constitution apply to Trump and what he did? I'm hearing a lot of this more abstract rhetoric of sort of, this is a matter of, do you think the court should decide, if, like you said, over policy differences, someone should be on the ballot. It's none of those things. All of that is a distraction. All you can debate over is, does the 14th Amendment, Section 3 specifically, apply to Trump's actions? Just like if someone's not a naturalized citizen or if somebody's not the correct age.
Yeah, so there's a lot to unpack there. So first, as far as Lauren Boebert's concerned, more projection than a movie theater. I mean, it's insane. This idea that the left and liberals and Democrats have to intrude on free and fair elections because they don't get us the result that we want. Again, just complete revisionist history. She's actually referring to the Republican Party as we know it today. Then in terms of what you're talking about, I love it when conservative Republicans and MAGA cultists appeal to popular vote and popular opinion, because they run from popular vote and popular opinion every chance they get, Luke. When was the last time they were on the winning side of an issue? Their views on abortion, unpopular. Their views on gun control, unpopular. Their views on the economy, cutting taxes for the rich and corporations, unpopular. Their views on social safety nets, cutting Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP benefits, Social Security, unpopular. You take 9 major policy positions. Republicans are on the losing side of 9 out of 10 every time. Now, you say, well, listen, we really need... You know how we say we're not a democracy, we're a republic? Just kidding. In this situation, we're a democracy, not a republic. I don't understand how this works, but the fact of the matter is the Constitution has always constrained, always, since the ratification, has always constrained who people can vote for. You have to be 35 years old. You have to be a natural-born citizen. We can't vote for or expect to seat a 28-year-old foreign national. So that's what, again, they just do a complete 180 whenever it's convenient for them. And that's why, to your audience, I say this: none of you should take this seriously at all. There's not a good faith argument that the Republican Party has on this issue. Pure hypocrisy.
Absolutely. And I will note also, someone like Michael Luttig, a renowned conservative former judge, says absolutely the facts align with this ruling from the Colorado Supreme Court. But also, one concern I've heard from people, or I've heard some on the left who say Trump engaged in insurrection, but he shouldn't be removed from the ballot because it's going to make people mad, or because we should be able to defeat him in the election. And I sympathize with, would it be more satisfying to defeat him in an election and so that, boom, he's defeated into the dustbin of history? Like, I get the urge there. But especially the people who I think are afraid that then the right will say it was stolen, it was rigged. They're going to do that no matter how Trump loses if he does. And we don't get to choose when we uphold the Constitution and when we don't. So again, that's the only debate. Does Section 3 of the 14th Amendment apply? If it does, it has to be upheld and Trump has to be removed from the ballot. And we'll let the courts decide that. But because we're afraid of MAGA freaking out, that can be a reason to go, well, ignore the Constitution on this.
So what's interesting is, I obviously I agree with you in principle. What's interesting is, I actually talked about this recently on Twitter, because there are some, as you say, some leftists and liberals who take that position. And I addressed one specific criticism from one specific popular commentator on Twitter. And my point was this: I actually think, like Michael Luttig, like Lawrence Tribe, like William Bowd and Michael Stokes-Paulson, the two conservative Section 3 scholars who wrote the original document, the law review, saying that Section 3 is self-executing, it does apply to Trump, et cetera, and so forth, the basis on which this entire lawsuit was made. I actually think it's a textbook case. I actually don't think you can make a good faith argument that Section 3 doesn't apply to Donald Trump unless you want to take the ludicrous position that the President of the United States is the one office exempt from Section 3, which again, the way I say it in my videos when I discuss it, it's like saying, Luke, I can't trust you with a butter knife, but here's a hand grenade instead. Makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. However, if you are a person who says, listen, you know, there's a slippery slope here, how will MAGA react? I can entertain that argument. I can actually entertain somebody saying, listen, for the greater good, we shouldn't pursue this end. But here's what I want to say, Luke. I'm not saying I agree with it. I can at least entertain it. But here's what I want people to understand. If you make that argument, if you make that case, Luke, that maybe we shouldn't pursue this Section 3 challenge to Trump's candidacy, you are admitting that for the greater good, Donald Trump should be put above the Constitution. Anyone who says, listen, we shouldn't pursue this case, but won't admit that in so doing we are putting Donald Trump above the Constitution, it's a dishonest argument. If you want to make that case, if you're saying, listen, for the greater good, for social cohesion, we're at the risk of civil war, whatever they're saying, the only way to do that is to put Donald Trump above the supreme law of the land, period.
And I think it's as dangerous to advocate for that as the weird precedent that was set pre-Trump that presidents, you can't really hold them accountable legally. And then you get a Trump who goes, oh, okay, looks like the law doesn't apply to me. So then he acted in that fashion. Same thing with this. The Constitution needs to be upheld so future Donald Trump-like figures think twice before doing what he did. I will say, always want to be transparent. Don't be hoping, you can hope, don't be expecting this to work and then kind of sit back on your bum going into the 2024 election. Still make it your plan and priority to obviously vote, encourage others to get involved where you can, because most likely the Supreme Court will slap this down. That's my prediction, unfortunately. Josiah, do you want to hit them with your channel?
Absolutely. And listen, Luke, I appreciate these conversations. For those of you who want to see additional political commentary, talk about how Democrats should be more ruthless and how Republicans have become a cult of personality, you can find me at youtube.com/@ponderingpolitics, one word.